Republic of the United States of America,
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Move on to roll call, please.
Absolutely.
Are we doing roll call? I'm sorry, did I miss something? Hello?
I hear you, Susan. I guess Dave Naffy's got to get his team together.
I wonder if we lost them in that we lost the graphic for the Department of Airports.
Yeah, I don't see them.
Right now it says, oh, never mind. It says the host is the iPad.
Yeah,
Department of Airports iPad.
Yeah, I wonder if Dave got bounced out.
I thought they had a different screen, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. They did get bounced out.
All right, let's give them a minute.
I'm just trying to make a little.
There we go.
All right, he's
There
back.
you are.
All right, I need a third arm.
Okay, ready for roll call now?
Yes, we are. Thank you for your patience.
No
For
worries.
Camarillo Airport Authority, please note that Supervisor Long has been excused from this meeting. Supervisor Huber,
Here.
Mayor Molche,
Present.
Chair Santangelo,
Here.
Vice Chair Bear.
Here.
Camarillo has a quorum. And for Oxnard Airport Authority, please note that Supervisor Long and Mayor Zaragoza have both been excused from this meeting. Supervisor Huber,
Here.
thank you. Councilmember Perrello,
Here.
Mayor Fussell.
Here.
Oxnard has a quorum.
All right, thank you. And you will probably also note the absence of Chair Lopez. So our loss is the county's gain, as she's now a supervisor. And my understanding is that once Oxnard decides what replaces her on the council, then we will replace her position. So Vice Chair Fussell will be running the Oxnard part of the meeting tonight. So let's move on to the agenda. Are there any changes?
Chair, we do not have any changes.
Okay. Then we'll move on to approval of minutes. We'll start with Camarillo. Do we have any changes to the Camarillo minutes?
Chair, we did have a change to offer for consideration that the minutes had reflected that Supervisor Huber was late. That was not in fact the case, just hard for me to spot. So I called out on the audio track that he hadn't arrived yet, but that was not in fact the case. So we will propose that an amendment to the minutes be made to reflect that.
I'll move to approve with the suggested amendment.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Huber,
Yes.
Mayor Molche,
Yes.
Chair Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bear.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Let's just move on to the Oxnard minutes. Any changes to those?
It's the same amendment required to those minutes.
Okay. Is there a motion?
A motion that we approve it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, and I believe the second was, I didn't hear who the second was, actually.
Councilmember Capano.
Doesn't there need to be a motion, though, to amend, to approve as amended?
Yeah, what, Dr. Fussell, was your motion to approve the minute with the amendment?
I move as amended for the supervisor to be present, not be early instead of being late.
Yeah, upgrade that.
I second that again.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead with a vote then.
Thank you. Let's see, Supervisor Huber,
Yes.
Councilmember Perrello,
Yes.
Chair Fussell.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so we'll move on to public comment period. This is the time for comments for issues not on the agenda.
Great, thank you. I can make the public announcement. If you would like to be added to the public comment queue, please be connected via Zoom. If not already connected and wish to make a public comment, you can find the Zoom link on the last page of the meeting agenda, which can be found at vcairports.org/meeting-calendar. If you wish to make a public comment on agenda item number 5, please press the raise hand button now, or if you are calling in today, press star then 9 to be added to the speaker queue. Thank you. And as of this moment, we have 4 public members wishing to speak.
+1. So David Cronshaw has been promoted. So, all right. David, did you join us?
I did. Do you hear me okay there, Dave?
I got you. Let me get the timer up here real quick.
Thank you.
And right. Okay, we're ready to go. Fire
All
away.
right. Thanks, Dave, for doing tech support there. Yeah, David Cronshaw here, one of the local Oxnard residents, and thank you, our airport authorities, for the time tonight. I just wanted to just give a shout out to the new County of Ventura Department of Airports Edition, Jeanette Howergy. As you know, she joined as Communications Engagement Manager for the Department of Airports, and she's been a great asset so far, meeting with the residents on a one-to-one basis. We really appreciate that, and appreciate Director Freitas's kind of support for her. We've local residents have had a great meeting with both Director Freitas and with Jeanette. It's been really pleasurable as far as the meetings and progress that we've been made. Jeanette is now sending out to the residents kind of weekly visual summaries of each day of the week of the traffic over Oxnard and the training traffic. And that's been really helpful to kind of take a look at, see the patterns of training. And definitely in the last few weeks, even though we have had, weather with the fog, after Director of Airports Freitas's kind of community meeting he had with local and the LA flight schools, there's been an improvement in the increase of number of right traffic, when safe, of course. And it's been a huge increase in our kind of quality of living below us with that right traffic when it is safe and there's no traffic coming in, save for Camarillo. So we really appreciate the improvement from that community meeting with the flight school that Director Freitas did hold with the flight school. There's still with the local and LA flight schools. And so, I wanted to give at least a personal shout out that has improved as far as the quality of life. And also Jeanette's weekly updates and meetings with us has also really been really helpful. There's still some work to do for some of the traffic that's going over the Oxnard shores, folks. But definitely just wanted to call out, rather than just being one of those complaining residents, that this has really helped. The education has really, really helped. And also thanks again to Jeanette for this. So that's a little summary from my side here as far as just a local resident. Just a shout out and a thanks to the department and everybody here with the airport authorities that, education does work. And I appreciate all of the work that you have done so far, and looking forward to seeing the upcoming software that's going to be installed. So maybe that's a little bit more public data. I'd love to know, with the data as to who might be, actually training for some of these 500 1,000 openings for pilots, maybe young pilots, as opposed to maybe a bucket lister with a kind of a hobbyist. I'd love to know that data too with the data. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Very good. Well, staff appreciates your comments and sentiment, and we like having Jeanette around too. She's been great. So I'll, with chair's permission, ask Walter if he'd like to be the next.
Thank you, Dave. Walter Hagedorn. Good evening, authority members. I'm Walter Hagedorn, Chair of the Oxnard Shores Neighborhood Council. 2 years ago, we were approached by the members of the Oxnard Fly Friendly Committee to join their effort in getting flight schools and pilots doing touch and go operations from Oxnard Airport to fly in accordance with the noise abatement maps as published by the airport. We were immediately frustrated by the lack of cooperation and the degree to which information we were given was false. One of the issues that concerned us was that we were told that the FAA would not allow right traffic at the airport for touch and go operations. As we researched the different reports and land use plans, we found that the FAA had been informed that right traffic was used at Oxnard Airport for touch and go operations, and that it seemed that no further authorization would be needed. We first noticed in the comprehensive airport land use plan that a Part 150 study had been done for Oxnard, and it was referenced in the report. We were never able to find that document, but we were able to find evidence that a noise exposure map was accepted by the FAA in September of 1998. We were not quite sure of the relevance of this until a month ago when the Part 150 study was finally made available to us. In that document, it's clear the noise exposure maps were part of that study, a study that took 3 years to complete and was very thorough. The significance of this connection is that the noise exposure maps were constructed using real data that was either observed or given to the consultants. Flight patterns are a major portion of these noise exposure maps, since you could not construct a noise map without knowing where the planes were flying. These maps show a right traffic pattern, a left traffic pattern, neither one going over Oxnard shores. These maps were accepted by the FAA as true and accurate, and they are used to this day as noise contours for Oxnard Airport. The fact that these patterns do not match the flight patterns that are being used today is significant. The congressional law that was passed in 1997 concerning airport noise says that you cannot sue an airport for noise pollution if there is a noise exposure map that has been done, except if the flight patterns that were used to make those determinations change. This puts the county in legal jeopardy, since we have 2 years of documented flights over Oxnard shores directly contradicting these noise exposure maps. The noise exposure maps that were accepted by the FAA are currently used and present a legal problem for the county. Thank you.
Did we lose Dave again?
Sorry, I was using the space bar. It must not have brought me off mute. My apologies. We have on deck Rita Weingarten. Would you please unmute? You have 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, and good evening. My name is Rita Weingarten. I just wanted to say that, we've been misled a little bit here. I purchased my home in Oxnard Shores in April of 2020. Before I purchased my home, I did my due diligence and I checked into lots of different things that people check into before they make this kind of an investment. I definitely checked into the airport noise and flight paths. When I checked the Oxnard Airport website in April of 2020, excuse me, there was a flight map that showed Oxnard Shores and surrounding neighborhoods to be in an avoid flyover area. Also, before I purchased my home, I did drive to the Oxnard Airport. I saw the signage showing the same flight path map, which distinctly reads avoid flyover in Oxnard Shores and surrounding.
Rita, you muted.
How long have I, sorry. Um,
5 to 10 seconds.
Okay, when I checked the Oxnard Airport website in April of 2020, there was a flight map that showed Oxnard shores and surrounding neighborhoods to be an avoid flyover area. Also, before I purchased my home, I drove to the Oxnard Airport. I saw the same map on the signage as I was entering into the airport, and that also read as a avoid flyover in the Oxnard shores and surrounding neighborhoods. This map that I saw was developed after a noise study was performed in 1998. This study was accepted and filed with the FAA. In April of 2021, that flight map was removed from the Oxnard Airport website. It's been living hell here ever since. The noise from these small planes exceeds the City of Oxnard noise ordinance and the State of California Health and Safety Code 68000, which states that noise levels above 65 decibels is dangerous for one's health. The State of California Health and Safety Code 68000 is enforceable by law. Taking the flight map down that was developed based on a noise study from 1998 is very wrong, and it's very misleading to the stakeholders in Oxnard Shores and surrounding communities. I cannot understand why we are spending another $800,000 on a new study when the 1998 study was concluded and states to avoid flying over our homes. Please, avoid means to stop. Please stop flying over our homes, just as the old map indicates. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask the person with phone number 0978 to introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes once I hear you.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, caller, go ahead, introduce yourself, and then we have
Yes.
3 minutes for you.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Joe Gosland, and I live in Oxnard Shores. At the last meeting, a member of the public tried to claim that a new lead study done this year around the Reed-Hillview Airport in Santa Clara, California, put to rest any concerns about lead levels in the children that live and attend schools near this airport. This was completely and totally misleading and does not at all reflect the issue or concern at the Oxnard Airport. That new study tested the soil, not the lead in the atmosphere, which was deemed to be causing the elevated lead in the blood levels. In fact, the article that brought this study to light has a quote from Catherine Hammond, an exposure expert and professor at UC Berkeley, who said, quote, "The soil sample results don't contradict the airborne study's conclusion." To remind this authority, some blood levels of children living near this airport exceeded those seen in the Flint, Michigan water crisis. The EPA estimates that emissions from these piston engine aircraft using leaded fuel account for about 70% of the lead released into the atmosphere. These children are not getting the lead from exposure from the soil, but rather from the air. So the lead issue is just as concerning as it has ever been. The authority must take this issue more seriously and actually do something about it. Now, we all know there's a new unleaded fuel available for use, and some airports are adopting it. But as we have heard from one of the local flight schools, it will take a long time for this to be accepted, as it is expensive and not readily available. There is no reason for Oxnard Airport to allow these lead-fueled planes to use our airport for touch and goes and further pollute our community. I would ask that the authority recommend an immediate ban of any piston engine plane using leaded fuel from touch and go training at the Oxnard Airport. Thank you.
All right, thank you, caller. Mr. Gosling, appreciate that. And Ben DiBenedetto. I'm going to get used to saying that correctly.
Well, you're getting better at it.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to
Great,
reset the
thank
clock. Good to see you, and you have
Good
3
to
minutes.
see you. Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk. it's kind of unfortunate that Ms. Long is not present tonight, because she brought up in the last meeting what is the source basically for the NHDs, natural hazard disclosures, when a buyer purchases a property in a neighborhood. I bought my property in 2002. And what I've done since the last meeting is I've ordered several disclosures. I've talked to residents and neighbors and gotten their disclosures. And I have disclosures going back to 2005. And they're the same, basically. So I want to go over that with you just briefly. I'm going to have to hold up some paperwork. I will be sending all this paperwork with links and all of that to the County Board of Supervisors and to the city as well. This particular disclosure is by Fidelity, which is quite a large company, as we all know. And it talks about where the house is in reference to the airport. And it says that Aviation Administration Federal Noise Compatibility Program Part 150 is the basis for well, seeing on my highlighted pages, sorry about that, is the basis for the disclosure. Oxnard City is 65 decibels. The state is 65 decibels. And actually the noise abatement study is based on danger areas at over 65 decibels. So given that, this is a particular other NHD. It's from a company called My NHD. Again, there are like 10 or 12 of these companies, but this one actually says that that the property is located within 2 miles of the facility. This particular property is on Seabreeze Way, which is, if you're not familiar, it's about 5 blocks south of 5th Street off Mandalay Beach Road and Oxnard Shores. And it actually gives a link to the FAA airport site where it talks about studies. That goes to this page, which is the, sorry about this, the FAA page regarding data and statistics and studies. And when you go to Oxnard Shores Airport on that page, it references the 1998 study. So in short, the FAA thinks we're operating on a 1998 study. There were 400 to 500 flights tracked during the noise abatement for the 1998 study. 0 flew over Oxnard Shores. I bought my house thinking 0 would fly over my house, given the noise abatement maps and the noise studies and all of that. The flight schools have changed that. The airport director has said that 40% of the flight school pilots can turn left or right and not fly over Oxnard Shores to stay north of Woolley. That's completely out of sync with the study that the airport is operating on, that the Board of Supervisors didn't see for 23 years, and that the city and the county have not acted on. So I urge you, please read this study. Further development and a lot of other issues are tied to that study. So thank you for the time.
I am on mute. Okay. Thank you for the comments. We have, looks like another one has popped in. Anna has a few.
You have Dave Timms.
We have Dave Timms. Stand by.
Dave, if you'd like to unmute.
Oh, he's already in. Okay. Great. Evening, Dave. 3 minutes.
You're muted, Dave.
Still muted.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Gotcha. Far away.
The name is Dave Timms. I'm based at Camarillo Airport. I fly out of Camarillo Airport. I land at Oxnard Airport occasionally. I'm responding to Joe Goslin's comments about the high lead level around Oxnard Airport. Joe was saying that the samples were taken from the soil. Well, the soil was there years and years ago when you had cars that was burning lead acid or lead in their gasoline, driving throughout the streets all in the area. I don't know if in fact they did measure lead in the soil, but there's no evidence that lead in the soil is as a result of aircraft flying overhead. And then to go ahead and to write a letter to the school board saying that children attending schools located close to Oxnard Airport are likely in danger of very serious health risk. I don't think you have any study at Oxnard Airport. I'm sure that you don't have any studies at Oxnard Airport showing that there is a risk of lead as a result of aircraft flying overhead. And then to make that statement to the school board, I think is without merit. And I think unnecessarily trying to excite the school board. So that's my comment.
All right, very well, thank you. There's another person with their hand raised in the attendee column. I've made an attempt to invite that person in to make their comments. Haven't bitten yet. So, and I would also like to, let me bring the camera back on. Would like to just alert the chairs that we do have a item on the agenda that does have noise in it. So I'll be providing a little bit of update on the monthly reports that the authority and commission receive dealing with reporting on noise items. And then I was also going to give just a general update on the VC Fly Friendly program that we've been rolling out. Just a couple of things, but I believe that with your concurrence, we could have Anna read out some written comments that we've received that kind of blur that line. I think, we're kind of looking at each other saying this could be the time to read them out and then not have them for item 6D. So with the chairs concur with that, then we can read those out now.
Fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, the first comment is from Sandra Nagel. It reads, constant noise from the airplanes flying south of Woolley. They fly below minimum heights. They even fly north to south of Woolley. Airport complaint line, not real time, and can have no impact. Checked twice a day, not acceptable. I have never received a callback. Is this a real line where the airport cares enough to do something about the information they are requesting as it's happening? You previously told us that if we provide information, that airport controllers could contact the plane as it was doing its flight training. That is not possible given the way you handle the complaint line. We need something more that is reactionary in real time. You need someone who mans the phones, at least responds to the calls as messages are left. Please do something about this so the flyovers discontinue. This all started during the pandemic. Please make it stop. It is dangerous and one day a plane will crash on a house. What can you do to prevent that? Thank you. End of comment from Sandra Nagel. The next comment is from John Greenwood. It reads, Camarillo residents have coexisted with the CMA for nearly half a century. Residents generally support that relationship, but also realize that any new developments at CMA that increases jet or large aircraft traffic can have a negative effect on their lives, especially those that live near CMA or underneath or near the flight path. Currently, there is a proposal from RKR/Sky 805 to alter or enlarge existing facilities at CMA that now house CI Aviation, and to put under long-term lease those facilities and a large amount of aircraft parking. RKR/Sky 805 is already asking for a second large long-term lease of CMA property, and they have yet to prove themselves a worthy tenant at CMA or a worthy neighbor to the surrounding community. With the construction of RKR's Cloud9 project still unfinished with the new 50-year lease, it does not seem wise to have one cohort controlling so many facilities and so much parking for the next half century at a small general aviation airport like CMA. Stipulations need to be made to assure no increase in jet traffic and adequate space and facilities for small private planes. It's obvious neither the Cloud9 project or the proposed CI Aviation project will benefit the community at large. Both are ventures that will benefit wealthy developers and their wealthy clients, AKA the privileged few that can afford to rent or own private jets, at the detrimental expense of Camarillo residents and small aircraft owners. Thanks. End of comment from John Greenwood. The next comment is from Lauren Delatorre from Old Town Camarillo. Happy to hear that the noise compatibility study, NCS, is approved to study noise from landings. I have concerns about doing the study before Cloud9 hangars are in operation. I feel the study needs to include jet noise from Cloud9 jets. As I am typing this, I have had 2 large jets fly right over my home. I see no reason to have another project like Sky 805 approved for expansion without NCS data of Sky 805 jet noise included in the report. I don't see how expansion of jet hangars will help the whole Camarillo. It will attract more private jet owners, creating more noise pollution. But how does more jets help our whole community, not just airport vendors? Where are these new jet clients coming from for Sky 805? I understand that most jets that will fill the Cloud9 hangars already make the airport their base. I would like to be involved in the NCS as a resident of Old Town. I would be willing to have some type of recorder on my roof to get data of how many jets fly over the homes here. It would be good to put a device on the Cedar Street water tower to capture dates and pictures to show the real story of how many jets fly over homes in Old Town. I feel the noise phone line doesn't get accurate data. Human data recorders would get a more accurate picture than phone complaints. Thank you. End of comment from Lauren Delatorre. The next comment is from Susan Tatum. It reads, when we bought our house in Oxnard Shores in 2015, Oxnard Airport was not threatening the safety and quality of life in the neighborhood. Simply put, planes and helicopters from Oxnard Airport were not flying over the shores. There is significant evidence of this. Today, we are often under siege by out-of-control touch-and-go flights, as well as an increase in helicopters, mostly Aspen, cutting across the shores, both coming and going, and non-touch-and-go flights taking off over our houses. As everyone in this meeting is aware, this situation is repeatedly creating noise levels significantly higher than the allowed 65 decibels, a safety hazard by allowing planes to take off and fly low over a densely populated area. And in the case of touch and goes, potential lead poisoning in our children. The problem has only gotten worse since it first came to light nearly 2 years ago. Director Freitas and his team tell us they are doing the best they can by educating the pilot training schools. Maybe that's true, but it's not enough. I ask that members of the airport authority who are elected officials keep in mind that it is your constituents who are being put at risk. If the airport operations can't get us immediately back to a safer time, I believe you can. Please put the airport on the agenda for the next Ventura County Supervisor's public meeting. Thank you. End of comment from Susan Tatum. And the last written comment we received is from Joni Conterno. It reads, for touch and go flights coming out of Oxnard Airport, right turns are a good thing because these patterns do not fly over occupied areas the way that left turns do. But for as long as I have been attending these airport meetings, we have been told by members of the airport advisory that it is not safe for pilots to make right turns. Many reasons were provided, some of them laughable, but I will spare you the details. Because on September 13th, the day of the Fly Friendly Forum, where 35 flight schools were invited and 8 attended, pilots suddenly began making right turns, lots of them, and that's good news. But the surprisingly fast change in pilots' ability begs the question, what else have we been told is impossible, but in reality is possible? Can the tower actually direct the pilots which way to turn and or how far out over the ocean to fly? Can Oxnard be a right turn only airport? Can we require planes to use unleaded fuel? And finally, can we put the safety and well-being of the residents of Oxnard neighborhoods above the convenience and fun of flight schools and aviation enthusiasts, many of whom neither live here nor pay anything to use the airport? These are not unreasonable requests we are making. We only want our safety and quality of life returned to us the way it was when we bought our homes, not that long ago. Thank you. End of comment from Joni Conterno. And that concludes the written comments that we received on agenda item number 5.
Sacramento Kings regular season schedule has arrived.
And chairs, we also have Susan Nickel, who has asked to speak and would receive 3 minutes.
Hey,
Susan, if you're ready, go ahead and unmute and we'll give you 3 minutes.
I moved here from Santa Monica. Santa Monica Airport was successful because they banned leaded fuel. And they banned it, I think, within a certain amount of miles, which it deterred the planes that were coming in because they couldn't fuel up there. We also have illegally registered planes, which has been brought up on our neighborhood watch by Felix this week, flying over and over. We've had a recent crash on the beach and last year on 5th Street. Since COVID, many of us have worked from home and we still are. I'm a teacher. I literally have to shut down my classes. When these planes come over, the noise levels are not what they should be. They're flying low. I have recording with my iPhone just outside the window when I have to shut it down because I literally cannot hear my students. When 3 planes are flying, it's every 60 seconds. I spoke to a pilot who told me the control tower is instructing them where to go. I'm not sure how that works. Maybe you can help us out with there. But there has to be a lot more people who are working from home here that also have similar issues. The Environmental Protection Agency controls noise limits as well. At this point, I have called the airport. I've given up. I had a guy who said he was just there for maintenance and told to answer the phone and had somebody screaming obscenities at him. And I realized at that point, it's futile. I'm suggesting, just like constant barking dogs, the possibility of a nuisance suit against flight schools because we have options for them. They refuse in a reasonable effort to take advantage of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairs, we have no more resident or public members who wish to speak.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Mr. Baird, do you have your hand up?
I do. A couple of points.
Can I stop you just for a sec? Do you want to maybe reserve your comments to our comments at the end?
They're in response to public comments that were just made. Would you prefer I save them till the end?
I think it would be more appropriate, so it's
Okay,
not
I will.
as if we're having a discussion about them.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so that will move us on to new business, and Vice Chair Fussell, I'll hand this to you for the Oxnard Airport Authority.
Okay, we have to consider the resolution for Oxnard Airport pursuant to Government Code 54953, which is the Brown Act, in order for us to have a meeting via Zoom for the next meeting. Can we have a motion to approve that discussion? It's quiet, so can I get a motion?
Oxnard, anyone?
Bert, are you there?
Yes, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Did you hear the motion that was placed before?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I apologize. Approved. Yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Huber, second.
So it's been motion and second. Can we get a count?
Yes, for Oxnard Airport Authority Supervisor Huber,
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo,
Yes.
Chair Fussell.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we have the same thing for Camarillo. Resolution authorizing remote teleconference meetings. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll
Huber,
second.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's do the roll call vote.
Supervisor Huber,
Yes.
Mayor Molche,
Yes.
Chair Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bear.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, that moves us to item C, which is the approval of an authorization of the Director of Airports or Designate to sign Amendment 1 to the et cetera. And I will let you take that away.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to just pitch it right over to Erin Powers, who has this item, and she will walk us through the subject and the recommendations.
Good evening, Chair Santangelo, authority members. Yes, the item before you tonight is involves in 2017, a board approved a 5-year agreement between the Department of Airports and the City of Camarillo Sanitary District. The agreement allowed the city to directly provide sewer services to the Northeast Hangar development, as well as annex it and potentially the entire airport sewer system within that 5-year period. Each agency had responsibilities to work towards that annexation, and due to several factors, including remaining upgrades to the infrastructure that are needed, available funding, and impacts of the pandemic on staffing, the city sanitary district and the Department of Airports are looking to extend the agreement for another 5 years to be able to accomplish the work. And you can see the area in orange from the original agreement that is contemplated for the that area that Dave is, thank you, circling with his laser, is the Northeast Hangar development that currently right now actually is directly served by the Camarillo Sanitary District, and the remaining airport campus we would be working with the city to potentially annex the entire property to the sanitary district for future sewer services. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise we do request that your authority recommend the recommend that the Board of Supervisors approve moving the agreement forward, and additionally authorizing the director's designee to be able to sign future amendments to extend the agreement upon approval by County Council.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Do we have any questions? Mr. Bear.
Just a couple. When you say the Northeast Hangar development, you're referring to Cloud 9, right?
No, it includes that commercial development, but it actually is, as you can see in the development area that Dave brought up, it was the whole Northeast Hangar quadrant.
And so we're talking sewer services. Are there, how many restrooms are there in the smaller general aviation hangars that would be served by that sewer system?
Well, at ultimate build out of the county's hangars, it may be up to 4. It depends on the building and safety requirements. It also contemplated at the time, there was no Cloud9 development. It was just a commercial development with no identifiable information. We contemplated some amount to go with the 100,000 square feet of hangar space we anticipated, as well as there is some additional hangars that run south of the T hangars along Gulf 1. I don't know if Dave, if you can use your marker to show. Yes, down below. Yes, perfect. The sewer would extend there.
And I would assume, Ms. Powers, that each of the Cloud9 hangars, the 4 hangars at Cloud9, will have their own restrooms and sinks and all of that.
Yes.
Is there any additional cost to the airport for this amendment?
Only the application fee to LAFCO.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any other. Oh, Mayor Moshe.
Not a question, just an observation or comment. Obviously, this needs to be mutually agreed to by both parties. It hasn't come before the district yet. I presume that the district is probably waiting for Board of Supervisors to sign, and then it'll likely then be proposed to our district.
My understanding is that it is on that it's will be coming before the district in later here in October.
Okay.
And then the Board of Supervisors, we're anticipating November 1st. LAFCO, the agency that will be reviewing the extension request, would like both parties to bring the agreement to them in November for their November meeting.
Okay.
And so we're both mutually working the amendment and the language in our letter before you and also before the board. We have coordinated with the city sanitary district and the city manager to make sure that we all are on the same page.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, if I don't see any more hands up for comments, then we can go ahead with the motion.
I'll move to approve as recommended.
There a second? I'll second. Okay, let's go ahead with the vote then.
Okay, for Camarillo Airport Authorities, Supervisor Huber,
Yes.
Mayor Moshe,
Yes.
Chair Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bear.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. So that brings us to item D, which is Camarillo and Oxnard together. I'll hand this back to you, Dave.
Okay, thank you, chairs. And I just wanted to point out that we had a lot of comments come in on noise just in general. And so I think I'll let you use your discretion as to whether additional noise related comments would be appropriate. I think that it would be if they're channeled specifically toward the updates that I'm going to provide, which are is general in nature and more to follow beyond this, obviously. So we back in March asked the advisory bodies, what would you like to see differently presented in the monthly noise updates that come along in the packet? And for those who were along for that ride, what we did was to form a subcommittee of members who would contribute thoughts, ideas, so that we could have a new noise report. We're also bringing on a noise system. We'll call that VNOMS from here most of the time, which is a new noise tracking system And when we're excited to see the kinds of data that is allowing us to use and report on. So there's definitely more to do, but we just wanted to have a quick update on that as well as other items. So the subcommittee did meet in June and July, and we've come out with a very general mock-up of the reports. Just flash real quick the subcommittee members who are there. The noise report format, this is really just more of a matter of saying what kinds of things was the subcommittee interested in having included in the report. Move this out of the way real quick. So a little bit about the locations that the callers would be, or the people who fill out noise complaints, where they're located. So by neighborhood. So we've been able to identify some of that, and then by the type of operations. That was interesting. The complaints by type of aircraft. We could tease out that information. Complaints by type of day, we can report on that, and then we can also indicate the follow-up efforts that our staff has undertaken in order to investigate and bring to closure the issue that's been identified by a member calling in. So this is super general. These are the items that the subcommittee was interested in having it reported monthly. We have a graphical element to it, which carries over from the reports that we've already been providing. And just for to acknowledge what we're looking at is the mocked up data, but that's actually the numbers that were going on in July of 2022. So that's the noise report format update. So there's more to do, but we just wanted to share with you the progress so far on that element. And that's one that's mocked up for the level of activity that we experienced in Camarillo Airport in July. I wanted to also point out that we'll be looking at reporting out by neighborhoods, and so that we've lined out what those neighborhoods look like and provided that back to our VNOMS vendor, and they have provided those additional layers for us so that we can report on that activity by neighborhood and for both airports. So the things I just wanted to point out, and this feels a little bit like the director's report, which I'll get to in a second, but the fly friendly VC, which is a bit of a brand, but it's catching on in my mind, the accomplishments and the outlook. So we brought on a staff member dedicated to our noise mitigation program, and that is Jeanette Haregi, and she's come on board, hit the ground running. She's doing a fantastic job. In fact, we've heard one of the neighborhood residents call and speak tonight and compliment her efforts, and so we also compliment her efforts on that. We've completed new pilot flight guides for both airports. We have heard comments that the prior version was removed from the website, and it was for a number of reasons. But it wasn't to let pilots just go haywire. It was to say that we needed to recognize that information needs to be reflective of the way aircraft can actually be flown. So we've been working hard on that, including with input from the neighborhood organizations. So that is here. It's printed. It's being disseminated, mostly personal contact. Phones. Everybody's going to get a direct hard mail copy, all of the different flight schools. So we're working hard to push that out. We did hold the Fly Friendly Forum at Oxnard on September 13th, and we had a really good dialogue with the various stakeholders who came in person to tackle this topic. that included the tower, and included flight schools, included our staff, and it included members of the pilot community and the neighborhood associations. So we had a good dialogue, but plenty more to do to get all of that out there. It's going to take a minute to have all of those different flight schools from where they're flying from to reach them all personally, but we intend to do that. And that's where we're headed. So, and then the noise management system we call VNOMs is installed. We are doing beta testing on it. We're getting a good feel for how we can use that to describe the activity, investigate activity, and it's really proving to be a great tool for us. So we're excited about that. Noise compatibility studies. So the stuff in green there are things that were either completed or very nearly completed. And the noise compatibility studies at both airports are funded. In fact, we just today put out notices to proceed to the consultant. And so we're getting ready to kick that off with the pre-work that the consultant will need to be doing. The public process we're expecting to start in the first quarter, by the end of the first quarter of 2023. FAA did approve a no-lead aviation fuel for all piston engines in September 2022. And so now it's a matter of logistics. It's getting it here. It's getting the facilities to be able to get that into aircraft. So that's the part we have control over is to help our FBOs get the product here. But clearly we need to have pilot owners, aircraft owners use it. So that'll be, but it's going to happen. It'll roll out. We did want to mention that California Aeronautical University, that we have an office here in Oxnard, their campus in Bakersfield is a launch customer for one of the unleaded fuels, or the one that was approved. And then we're encouraging all of our fuel providers at both airports to be early adopters as well. So we are hearing that all of them are eager to do that just as soon as it's available, and as soon as we can, as soon as they can overcome the logistics hurdles. So, and that would be the report for that. And it is a receive and file. So any questions?
Okay, do we have questions?
Do you have one member of the public who's asking to speak? And again, I would just recognize that this is something that overlaps the comments that we received during the public comment.
Yeah, I'll reiterate that as well, that comments on this item should be specifically about what was just discussed.
Okay. So Ben Di Benedetto, I get more practice, is coming in, and we can set up for a 3-minute.
Okay, great. Let me know when you're ready.
Let me get the timer going. There we go. All right, fire away.
Thank you so much. This relates directly to what Mr. Nafty just said. It's my understanding that Oxnard Shores, which has the most number of complaints and overflights and issues with what's going on here, has not been invited to, has never been invited to, only on very sketchy, every once in a while meeting basis to this subcommittee. We have far more complaints than anyone else. Most of the flights are flying north of Woolley, and thank God for that, because that's part of the problem. But the real problem is when 40% of the planes can only turn left or right and stay north of Woolley, it means 60% of the planes fly over Oxnard Shores. And why we have not been part of this subcommittee from the very beginning points to the issues that we have with this board, the advisory board, and the airport in general, along with the County Board of Supervisors. If anybody needs to have a voice on the committee, it should be us. And I'm angry about it because this is the kind of thing that's been going on. We bring you a study you didn't see for 23 years, you ignore it. We bring you evidence of how these, disclosures are made when we bought our property and you knew there was an airport. Yeah, read my disclosure and tell me I knew there was an airport. Of course I knew there was an airport. You guys have to get on the ball here. This is completely unacceptable. And it's not about how many aircraft can turn before or left or right. It's about the ability of the pilots that are flying them. This airport has become a depot for inexperienced flight. And I understand that we need to encourage pilots. We're not trying to not encourage pilots, but we need to be included, particularly the area where we're getting nailed. And that's us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have any other public members looking to speak. I would just reiterate that the report was for the consumption of the advisory board members. And so that's why that subcommittee was composed of those folks only.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
Not from the public.
Okay. I just want to say that I hear the frustration, and I don't understand it as well as those who live in the area, but I hear it, and I believe that the rest of, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I do think that we are listening, and I understand the frustration, but my comment was going to be on how it feels very slow, but it does also feel like we're making some progress. And I want to thank the airport staff for working really hard at that. I don't feel like there's been this stagnant non-response. So I want to thank the airport staff for all they're doing, and for the progress that I think we're trying to make together. So
Agreed.
with that, I will move on. I believe that brings us to director's report.
Very well. Get to the right
We didn't need
slide.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. We didn't need a motion to receive and file that, did we?
I believe that's your discretion as chair. But
All
if you'd
right.
like, if you'd like
Let's
to.
do it. Yeah. Can I get a motion to receive and file that?
I move that we receive and file that report.
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's do a roll call vote.
For Camarillo Airport Authority, Supervisor Huber,
Yes.
Mayor Morse,
Yes.
Chair Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bear.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Dr. Fussell, do you want to do it for Oxnard?
Yes. Can we get a motion to receive and file the most recent report?
I'm gonna vote on that.
So moved for all.
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call vote for Oxnard Airport Authority, Supervisor Huber,
Yes.
Councilmember Perrello,
Yes.
Chair Fussell.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now we'll move on to director's report.
Okay, I have a few items, but I think we can get through them pretty quickly. So the private hangar ground lease agreement, staff working with Cohoto leadership have begun the process of getting the transition from the old 30-day lease to the new term lease. And the activity this month has been for hangar inspections. So we've got a few of those that began, and the process seems to be reasonably painless. I'm not sure how it feels to be a hangar owner and go through that process, but from our side, it seemed like a cordial and friendly and informative process for us to get used to the hangar inspection process from our side. And also we appreciate the efforts of Cohoto to offer up a number of hangars to be inspected and for us to practice on. So yeah, we're excited, and we believe that the process is moving forward. Obviously, it's going to take some number of months to get through all 200 plus owners and to get those leases taken care of. I think we're kind of budgeting a capacity to do about 30 a month. So we're headed that direction. The cameras and gates. So this is all funded. We have a design. We have a purchase order in place, and we've been meeting with our county IT folks, as well as the vendor called Convergent. And we're on track. We're looking for Q4 of this year. So yet this year in the next few months to get these cameras and gates switched over from the existing clunky 2005 system to something very up to date, very user friendly, and to give us a lot of great cameras and gates to work with. So we're excited to have these milestones to report on. Wanted to just reiterate that Jeanette Haregi is on board with us, working to update all the social media, and I might have a slide for this. Our social media shows that we've woken up all of that. So that includes Instagram and Twitter and Facebook primarily. And she's doing a great job getting information out, finding people to whose stories are going to be interesting for the public and for all of us to hear about. But these are great outreach tools that we're using, and she's doing a great job with that. The Oxnard Tower manager, Lee Westfall, has been interim manager for some time, and Serco has announced that they've hired a new manager. His first name is Joshua, and he's expected to start in the middle of the month, as Keith pointed out. I think that's October. And then I wanted to also point out that an action item that we picked up from Councilmember Perrella to say, what can we do to put some just physical signs on the ground and alert pilots that residential neighbors are nearby, and to please be a good neighbor. We did approach FAA, ask for permission to install signs like these at Oxnard Airport. It's a little bit different because we have a Part 139 operating certificate, so FAA is much more involved in what we do and don't allow out there, but we did get permission. Those signs have been created, and we're in the process of getting them installed. So that one would be at each end of the runway entrances at Oxnard Airport. So it's one more way to remind pilots to be neighborly and to fly friendly. So with that, that concludes the director's report.
Thank you very much. Okay, so then we have reports and correspondence that are for our reading pleasure. And if you have questions, you can bring them back. So we'll move on to authority comments. Mr. Bear.
A couple of comments. I'm hoping Ms. Nicholas, Ms. Nicholas still with us. I thought I heard her say something about illegally registered planes during her public comment. And if she's aware of any illegally registered planes, I would urge her to report that to the FAA and or the Department of Airports. Planes have a very specific process to register. And if there are aircraft out there that haven't complied with that, the authorities need to know about it. So if that is indeed the case, I would urge her to act on that when she becomes aware of illegally registered planes. Ms. Delatorre's comment, and I see she's no longer with us, but she said, I think made a good point that the Cloud 9 project should be up and running during the upcoming noise study. And I would urge staff to consider that. I think that we need to know if the Cloud 9 project is going to increase the noise footprint in and around the airport, and even if it means slightly delaying the noise study until those hangars are operational, I think that is a worthwhile endeavor. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Or Dave, were you going to respond to that?
Chair, I wasn't going to respond to that. I was just going to point out that we have Susan Nicola, who has asked to speak, has had 3 minutes in the public comment section. So your discretion as to whether to allow or what to kind of constrain comments on. I'll leave that to you.
So she spoke during public comment time already. So that was her 3 minutes. So I'm sorry, but that's the 3 minutes.
And that appears to be it.
Okay. All right. Well, unless there's anything else, I don't see any hands shooting up. We didn't get 42 minutes, but pretty close.
Well, that could have been me and my imprecision and my only 2 hands, not 3.
That's all right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're going to go ahead and adjourn to our next meeting, which will be Thursday, November 10th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Great.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Great to see everybody. Thank
Good
you.
night.